Hello and welcome back to the Grant Hill Chronicles podcast. I am your host, Don Bishop. Today's episode is an update on our lives since we last spoke. And this conversation with my wife occurred on the night of Monday, January 9th, 2023. It is now Saturday night of January in the same week as I edit this. And I'm dividing this conversation into two episodes because of wildly different topics. The first part, today's episode, is an update on our lives, what's been going on in our lives since the last episode. And the next episode is going to be kind of what's been developing on the writing and business side of things, hopefully business side of things. You'll hear that next time. But yeah, for this one, while you can read it in the newsletter or you can listen to it through the podcast, I do encourage you to watch it on YouTube. You can see some images on the YouTube video that obviously you can't hear, and I'm not going to include in the newsletter. I apologize for the audio issues throughout the episode. During this conversation, the microphone was too close to my phone, and you can hear some audio artifacts that occur from that. Now, a lesson learned for the future, right? And yeah, enjoy, and if you have any questions, send them to me and we'll talk later. Happy 2023. I'm Don and this is Lila, and we have a lot to talk about. You can consume this newsletter, first of all, you can consume this newsletter as an email, podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or video on YouTube. First of all, what are we going to talk about? We should talk about us. What's been going on in our lives?
What hasn't been going on?
Yeah. So we moved across the country, and we've actually lived in this area before. We lived here, we bought a house here, and then work brought us across the country, opposite side of the country, spent a couple of years over there, come back, and we had our house here lent out on AirBnB. And when we came back, because of HOA reasons, we had our house under lease, under a 6-month lease, and it overlapped with our return to our own house.
By about a month and a half, right?
Yep. So we ourselves rented an Airbnb to stay for about a month and a half. And then the house reverted back to us, and we found out that our guests had been smoking in our house for the last 6 months. And
not just smoking.
Yeah.
Like, smoking.
Yeah, chain smoking, just evidently by the smell and the 130 some odd cigarette butts that Lila found in the
all
yard.
All over the yard. And that's not including the ones we found in the ashtrays.
Yeah, they smoked inside and out. It was in the house rules, it was forbidden, and it was in the lease that they signed. So it was definitely not allowed.
And there was a residue. There was like tar on, on things.
We had our cleaning team clean a lot, and then we went in there, and it was definitely not enough. And we ran an ozonator that releases ozone into the air to chemically break down odorous compounds, and that did not suffice. And
Pardon
we
the yawning.
used Zep Professional smoke whatever spray. Mm-hmm. We burned candles to try to cover it, and yeah. The cigarette smoke was not the only damage. They also broke a lot of things and made a lot of things go missing. They took a dining set, like the table and chairs,
oh my goodness,
out onto the back patio and left them there.
A wooden set of...
wooden, real wood, not a material board or anything, and left them on the back patio for months. On the East Coast,
separate dining
lots
sets.
of rain.
From 2 separate dining sets, so they ruined...
Yeah, it was mixed.
2.
Yeah, it was mixed. They ruined 2 dining sets.
And a rug. They just left out
and
there.
a rug.
But it doesn't really matter if they left it out or not, because their dog chewed up all the corners of all the rugs.
Anyway, so that's... Yeah. If you really want, you can ask us questions. send us questions at questions@thorn.link, and I'll answer questions, but not to get too much in the details, we suffered a loss, and so Airbnb advertises their air cover insurance, and so we have filed a claim, and it just takes time. It took us a lot of our time to file the claim because we had to document everything, like all these photos, providing descriptions, and that took a few weeks. Then when it was, sorry, I'm getting into all the details. So it takes time. It was
very in depth. You had to document how long how long we'd had the item.
Yeah, how much
we paid for originally, how much it would cost to replace it, just gobs of information.
Very detailed. Like, they had their adjusters come out. Oh yeah, so we got quotes, right? We had our cleaning team do a lot of cleaning, and extra cleaning that is necessitated by a guest's activities is coverable, supposedly, and we had the ducts cleaned, and we got quotes from a company called ServPro that does professional smoke restoration. We got a quote for them to come and clean the contents of the house, like take all the stuff out of the house to their facility offsite and professionally clean all the stuff and bring it back. There's a quote for that, and that's $20,000. And a quote to clean the inside of the house itself, like
the structure,
with their special methods or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like cleaning all the walls and all that, that's $26,000. Like, one room is a few thousand. And we got a quote to replace all the carpet, which we had that shampooed also. So like the ducts cleaned and the shampooing were on our dime for now. If Airbnb comes through, they're supposed to reimburse those expenses. So we'll see how it pans out. But yeah, we have a quote to replace the carpet and a quote to paint the interior of the house as well. So it's been eating a lot of our time for the past couple of months. It's now January.
And this is all while we were living out of suitcases.
The house came back to us in early October.
August.
It was 3 months ago when the house reverted back to us. Yeah. So when we were in an Airbnb ourselves, house came back to us, and with all this documentation that needed to be done, we went ahead and relocated ourselves back into our house, but we slept on a mattress on a floor, and we've lived out of suitcases in our own house because we can't move in unless we want all our stuff to smell like cigarettes. So while we're in this limbo and we can't move into our own house properly, we bought a new house. So we're moving. And we've been moving since July. July was when we started packing up to move across the country. We actually left in August. We left the West Coast and arrived here in August. And in September, we were moving into the Airbnb. In October, we were moving out of the Airbnb and into our own house. Well, but kind of, like, suitcases only.
And this isn't counting that time I spent in Utah at my mom's house where we had to, I had to set up a whole little life there for a few weeks.
Her late mother's house that she takes care of as a rental, which is not generating any income for her or her brothers. It's just their kind of level.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I went with the 3 kids, and we had to set up, and I worked so hard because there's so much to do. And so that whole thing was stressful, and I had to pack. So we had to pack things to go straight to the storage unit, pack things to go on this interim trip. Some of it was going to then go with my mother-in-law across the country before us. And so there was all this staging of different types of packing. And then meanwhile, Dawn was still in California packing up most of our stuff, like finishing most of our stuff.
Yep. Put it all in the truck.
And then so some of that went to the storage unit. Some of it came to the Airbnb where we stayed. And this is all like the kids are starting school and everything all at once. And it's been major chaos.
Yep. We started moving in July, and it is now January, and you can't see in this shot because I paid attention to what was in the shot, but we're surrounded by boxes. We are not moved in yet. We are moving in. Now we managed to get a pretty nice house this time around. It's going to be a good thing for the kids for years to come, I feel. We've got a good yard, lots of trees. So I'm really happy about the situation, the physical situation in which we find ourselves now. We just have to settle into it and make it a real thing.
And rest up a little bit somehow.
And paint. This room is burnt orange, and I have nothing against Texas Tech, but it's a bit strong for the color of a room. So yeah, we've been painting other parts of the house. They were not burnt orange. This is the only room that's this particular shade. But there was a room upstairs with a Bama crimson red wall. That's a white wall now. Anyway, so yeah, we're settling in. We're making the house ours, and there's a little bit of that still to come. Also, I've got my day job just working away, so I don't have all the time I would like to work on settling in. But yeah, that's kind of what's been going on with us and the kids. They're in a school, and their school is really early.
Oh,
like
my goodness, that's
their
the
school
worst.
starts at 7:30 in the morning, and the bus passes by our old house at about 6:50. Sometimes 6:45. 6:50, sometimes 6:55. And now at the new house, we're a little bit farther away from the school. It's still the same school. And the bus is supposed to come by here at 6:30.
The poor kids. There's no time to live.
It kind of almost works because I can drive them to school on my way to work. But it's the timing is tight. Anyway, so there we are. And that's kind of us. So this is still the newsletter for the Grind Hill Chronicles and the Grind Hill Chronicles podcast. So let's talk about that side of things. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today. As always, look us up on social media. You can search Grind Hill or send us an email at questions@thorn.link. And we'll talk to you next time.